This has you starring in an incredibly intense and intriguing new movie, Last Night on Earth. Was there something about the premise or your character Holly that drew you to be a part of this movie?
Yeah, I love that it was like a female-led perspective, that it was a lead role. Like there was a lot to sink my teeth into. It was very like grounded between this relationship between two people and this like crazy circumstance of the world ending, which is something that I think we all think about from time to time, but this is like takes that intrusive thought and plays it out all the way. Um, and there was just so many elements to play with. There was like the psychological aspect of it, the mental and emotional, like the romance, the suspense with the villains that come in, and just there it's scary, but it's heartfelt, and I liked taking that journey as an actor.
You have some incredible co-stars. Were you familiar or friendly with any of them ahead of filming?
Yeah, I knew Shane. I've known Shane West for a long time in
I figured.
LA. Yeah, he's been around forever. Of course, like A Walk to Remember was one of my favorite movies ever, and he's been on so many shows that I've loved. Nikita and which one? Forget what it was called. Uh, the
You've been
one
on a lot. Salem, yes,
Salem.
yes, yes.
Yeah. And my boyfriend loves him in League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Like, so, he's super, super talented. And then Jake McLaughlin, I recognized him from a lot of different things. Safe House being one of them. And then I watched his movie with Kathy Bates that he did, and I just thought he was like super cute and talented and like a real man's man. I'm like, oh, wasn't so too shabby. So I was excited to take on this cast and work with them.
We talk about your character Holly. How was she originally described to you?
Honestly, I tried to remember that because I don't actually I think it was just like a woman and her husband um are have fled to the countryside to live out their last days on earth, and they encounter dangers of all kinds while they're out there, and like the worst of humanity and the best and whatever. And she deals with like mental illness, and she has like a strained relationship with her mother, and like that plays into the story. And I was like, huh, okay, that's a lot to work with. um
Yes.
so she deals with depression, and prior to even knowing that it's going to end, that her life is going to end. And so I thought that was like interesting too. I've never really played that, so I wanted to play that.
How hands-on then was director Marcos Efron and writer Marcos Efron when it came to shooting the scenes, or did he give you space to truly inhabit Holly yourself?
Well, we got to collaborate a lot because he was the writer and director, and it was a smaller budget, so we had like room to change things. And I told him I really wanted to make it authentic to like a woman's story, because he wrote it and he's definitely not a woman. So I'm very protective of like the female gaze and all of that. And I was like, this needs a few things need to change in order for it to be like believable and authentic, as like a woman's story.
Mhm.
So like he was very hands-on, and he was very protective of the material, but at the same time he conceded to me on multiple points. So yeah, we did a lot of like rewriting together, um just certain beats, moments, changes, things like that, lines. Sometimes we'd give Ryan Holly's line or Holly Ryan's line, so he was very involved.
There's so many intense moments to this movie. Was there one scene that challenged you the most, or maybe one that you're even most proud of that you've worked on?
I think, yeah, there's one scene by like when they're outside, when she says like, did you see the movie, by the way?
Yes.
Okay. When she says like, there's this song that I used to play that talks about, I wish I would have met you sooner so I could have loved you longer. Um
Hmm.
she kind of like embraces him, and she's like, that's how I feel. And I don't know, just something happened to me in that, like, that's when I really kind of got it. I think like I got the movie and I got the character and I got the emotion, and that made the whole movie make sense to me. And I think it really affected me, and I played it, like that. And it was just very quiet and very personal, and I wasn't, yeah. So that was my one of my favorite moments. Also like the confronting with Gene, and like those intense action fights, scenes with him, and um just a lot of it I think is great, if I do say so myself.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about those scenes with Jean. How hard was it for you to step out of character after those moments with Shane?
Well, Shane's like a big goofball and a big teddy bear and super soft, like super sweetheart. So it was like kind of funny. We would have a big laugh about it afterwards. He had fun playing that role, but luckily he's not like a method actor or anything. He was just like, you know, popping in and out of it. And we had fun with it, and we would try to push each other, further in the scene. So it was pretty easy to get in and out of it.
What is it about this movie that you think it's gonna make it such a must-see sci-fi thriller?
What do you think? That's an interesting question.
Well, there's heart, there's depth to these characters, as we touched on that mental exploration of mental health, things like that. For women, it's sort of been taboo as well, because you have to be stoic and matriarchal and things like that. That I really find
Mhm.
like this movie is going to explore so many points of view that people are really going to find fascinating, especially with the presence you have on screen in this character.
Thank you. That's a great answer. I hope, I hope that resonates. That's what I was going for. Was like complex emotional reaction to the worst news of your life. And yeah, some of it is stoic, but some of it is like breaking down, and fear and remorse and regret, and just awful, just a whole mess of awful. But as an actor, that's what I like doing. So I know I'm insane, but um
You're a glutton
yeah,
for punishment. That's what
totally,
they say.
totally. Yeah,
I'm excited for your book, Glimmer's Game. It's coming out on your birthday. So,
right.
why was now the perfect time to explore your time on the Hunger Games and share your life with so many people?
Yeah, I think I'm like, I looked back and I'm like, it's been 20 years that I've been acting, and there's so much more to me than just an actor. Like I love always doing creative things. I recorded an album that's on Spotify right now. I direct music videos which are on my YouTube. I've directed short films that have won awards, and I would love to direct a feature film one day. But I was like, I have a lot to say. I talk a lot, and um with the new kind of age of social media, you can kind of do anything and whatever you want. So I noticed that there was a huge fandom still with the Hunger Games, like new fans, discovering it on streaming. And I was like, I think that there's a market for this. People would love to hear like a behind the scenes take of what it was really like. But it was supposed to be short. It was supposed to just be short. It was like during that writer's strike and actor's strike. And then of course, as I do, I just went all in, and I just wrote a whole memoir about how I started acting, and, my struggles with mental health and the whole thing, and my moments of self doubt and people that didn't believe in me. And so it went a lot deeper, and then just like, this is what it was like, we shot this scene on this day. I'm like, I was struggling with I had terrible stomach aches, I thought I wasn't good enough, my skin was terrible, I felt out of place, I felt like I didn't belong, so I go deep, and there's all the tea being spilled about, the cast and the dynamics, and everything that a true fan would want to know. And I talk about Wizards of Waverly Place, um and being on that show and what was going on in my mind during that time.
Well, this is such an incredible depth. Look into the life and that incredible role you have. What did it mean to you to be a part of Hunger Games in hindsight?
Yeah, I like I talk about in the book. I think maybe that's one of the reasons why I focused on the Hunger Games specifically, aside from the other fans, like I was the biggest fan. I was the biggest fan of the books. I was obsessed with it. And so being a fan and like just clawing my way onto that movie was like so surreal to me. And it still is. And I wanted to get into that in the book. Like it was crazy. I was like staying up like till 3 in the morning reading that book. And um in between scenes on Wizards of Waverly Place. So it was like a game changer, and it like was so validating for me as an actor. And it was like something I could have dreamed of. I mean, huge premieres and red carpets and gowns, and it was everything that I dreamed of as a little girl. So it was like the encapsulation of like all of that. And of course, I've done many great projects: Grey's Anatomy, Wizards, Percy Jackson, True Detective, but that one like solidified my place like in this town and to myself, like I do belong to be here. I do deserve to be here.
I think no longer do you need to question those. You were in Bank. You were
Yeah.
in Gone. You were in so many insanely cool films and on these wonderful shows. It must mean a lot to you that people still are fascinated by the wonderful work you do on our screens.
Thank you. That's so sweet. Yeah, it does mean a lot to me. I mean, I've been around, like I said, for 20 years, and I've like, I'm entering like a new era where I'm more of a grown woman now, and I'm taking on more mature roles like Last Night on Earth, and stepping out of that like bratty teenager vibe, or into more of like a
Sure.
maternal feeling, just more mature. So I'm excited to see what comes next for me. So yeah, maybe this book was also kind of like closing the chapter on like that part of my life, and the young adult like fiction world that I was a part of, and I'm so grateful to be part of, and kind of moving into more adult stuff.
You touched on it a bit. What is next for you? What have you been busy working on lately?
Well, my book has been all consuming. I'm
Sure.
trying getting emails about it right now as we're talking, but I am not sure what's next for me as far as like my next role. I know it's going to be amazing, and it's going to be uh something so different, and like I said, just like that more mature and like woman vibe. I took a couple of years off, and now I'm back. I took like a year and a half off, and now I'm back, and I'm on the grind. So I'll keep you guys posted on my social media where I end up next, what I choose to do. Currently, I'm looking at my two mini donkeys on my ranch. So I've been doing the ranch for a while, and that's really nice. Really, really nice.
What would you like to say then to everyone who are fans and supporters of the incredible work you do, whether it's music, whether it's TV, whether it's production, all of these wonderful avenues you've begun to explore?
Um, just like I hope that, like I've had a lot of like self-doubt, like pursuing all these different things. But I've just always been like, okay, well, I overcame those fears to just try something new, and like it might be a failure, and I don't know, and I don't care. I'm just gonna do it for me. And I hope people are inspired by that. To just go for things and learn along the way, and make mistakes, and not play small, and just thank you. Like I hope that my work is impactful, and I try to make it as deep and meaningful as possible to serve people. So I'm not phoning it in any way. It's like really me out there. It's really me out here. So I hope it resonates. If it doesn't, that's okay too. But I try.